Ma'am, please step away from the child. The words sliced through the peaceful atmosphere of the upscale ice cream parlor in downtown Santa Monica like a sharp blade. In that moment, everything froze. Arielle Monroe, a black woman in her 30s, had been smiling and chatting with her daughter when she stopped mid-sentence. The vanilla ice cream in her hand dripped onto an unopened napkin. Beside her, 6-year-old Lily gripped her mother's hand tightly, her wide gray-blue eyes full of confusion. "Mom, what's going on?" The little girl's voice trembled. 2 police officers stood in front of them, stern. One of them spoke, "We received a report about a possible child abduction. We need to verify your relationship to the child." The air turned stifling. The espresso machine behind the counter fell silent. Several customers pulled out their phones, some recording discreetly. In the corner, a white woman with oversized sunglasses and carefully styled blonde hair gently closed her phone and smiled as if everything was unfolding exactly as she had planned. Arielle looked directly at the officers, her voice calm but firm. "She is my daughter." But deep down, she knew. This wasn't the first time she'd been doubted. Yet this time in broad daylight in front of her child was something no mother should ever have to endure. Arielle gently squeezed her daughter's hand, steadying her voice. "What exactly are you accusing me of?" she asked, locking eyes with the taller officer, flipping through his notepad. The other officer, younger and clearly uneasy, shifted on his feet. "We're just following procedure, ma'am. Someone reported that the child may not be yours." Arielle pressed her lips together. A storm had begun to brew inside her, but on the outside she remained calm, as still as a glassy lake. 2 decades of navigating a world that constantly questioned her because of her skin had taught her one thing: never let them see you lose control. Because with one misstep, you stop being a mother and become a threat. She knelt down to Lily's eye level and spoke gently. "Remember what I taught you. Sometimes people don't understand our family, but we know exactly who we are." Lily nodded slowly. She didn't fully understand, but held on to her mother's words like a lifeline. Arielle stood back up, her eyes now serene and resolute. "You want verification," she said, pulling out her phone. "Call my husband." The younger officer looked uncertainly at his partner. Things were no longer following the usual script. And across the café, the white woman behind her iced coffee still wore a cold, satisfied smile, like a director watching her scene unfold. Arielle held the phone to her ear. 2 rings. "Zach, I need you at the Fairfax ice cream shop. Now." Her voice was steady, but Zach Monroe, her husband of 9 years, needed no further explanation. "I'll be there in 10. Don't say anything else until I arrive." She ended the call and turned back to the officers. "My husband is on his way. He'll confirm everything." For the first time, she saw a flicker of hesitation in the older officer's eyes. The name, Zach Monroe, tech investor, philanthropist, a well-known white figure on several Los Angeles school boards, was not unfamiliar. But that shouldn't have to matter. And it was that very injustice that her powerful white husband had to rescue her that made Arielle's chest tighten, not from pride but from exhaustion. Her mind drifted back. Just last month at Lily's preschool, a PTA member had asked, "Are you the new nanny?" At the pediatric clinic, the receptionist insisted on calling Zach to confirm medical authority, even though Arielle's name was the legal guardian on file. And at the grocery store, a security guard had trailed her and Lily down 3 aisles because they didn't look like mother and child. Each time Arielle smiled, presented proof, proved her right to exist alongside her daughter, then went home and hugged Lily tightly to soothe her child and herself. But today in public before a dozen watchful eyes, this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a choice. And someone had chosen to question her motherhood because of her skin. The shop's glass door swung open. A burst of cool air swept in along with the tall, sharp presence of Zach Monroe. In his 40s, with a strong build and flecks of gray in his dark brown hair, Zach didn't need to speak to command attention. Dressed in a simple white shirt without a tie, every step he took carried the quiet weight of someone used to power, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stills a room. His eyes locked on Arielle, then found Lily curled up on the bench, eyes wide with fear. Zach rushed to her, knelt and pulled her into his arms. "Princess, are you okay?" Lily nodded, but her whisper broke him. "They wouldn't let me sit with Mommy." Zach stood his hand, finding Arielle's firm, certain unshakable. He turned to the officers. "Excuse me, but what the hell is going on here?" The older officer cleared his throat. "We received a report about a potential kidnapping." "I know what the report said," Zach interrupted, voice low but charged. "What I want to know is why my wife and daughter were treated like criminals for eating ice cream." Silence fell. The café held its breath. "Can you confirm the relationship?" the younger officer asked, fumbling. Zach raised an eyebrow. "She is Dr. Arielle Monroe, child psychologist, author of 3 books and Lily's biological mother. I'm Zach Monroe, her husband. Do I need to call our attorney, the police chief, or the press?" He didn't raise his voice, but every word struck at a system that had chosen to doubt not because of behavior, but because of bias. The senior officer stepped back slightly, his gaze drifting. "Mr. Monroe, we were simply following protocol. In potential child abduction cases, we are required to verify relationships." "Verify." Zach cut in. "My wife showed her ID, Lily's school ID. What more do you need DNA testing at the ice cream counter?" No one answered. Arielle reached into her handbag and pulled out a carefully sealed document pouch. "You want papers?" She opened it. "Here's the birth certificate with my name. Here's our family Christmas photo. Here are Lily's pediatric records. I'm listed as the legal guardian. And here's the complete IVF documentation, the journey my husband and I undertook to bring Lily into this world." She paused. Her voice was no longer soft. It was steel. "I carried her for 9 months. I gave birth to her after 14 hours of labor. I raise her every single day. And today, just because her skin tone doesn't match mine, I have to prove I'm allowed to be her mother." The room was silent. The spectators who had once watched casually now looked down uneasy. Some pulled out their phones, recording every moment. The young officer lowered his head. "We apologize for the inconvenience." "Inconvenience?" Arielle let out a quiet, bitter laugh. "You separated a 6-year-old from her mother, in front of strangers, based on a stranger's suspicion. That's not an inconvenience. That's dangerous bias." Zach gently squeezed her shoulder and whispered, "We won't let this go unnoticed." Just hours later, the video footage from the ice cream shop began spreading like wildfire. From the moment Arielle was asked to step away from the child to her composed stance while presenting proof, everything was captured undeniable. The name Dr. Arielle Monroe quickly appeared among trending hashtags. Social media users across the country shared the story with outrage and deep empathy. She's not just a mother, she's a calm warrior in a storm. The woman who had called the police Melissa Cartwright, 51, a marketing executive living in Beverly Hills, was quickly identified by the online community. Within 24 hours, her LinkedIn was deactivated, and the company she worked for shut down their comment section due to a flood of backlash. The next day, the company released a statement: Ms. Cartwright has been placed on administrative leave pending internal review. But Arielle didn't celebrate. When Zach showed her hundreds of messages of support from strangers, she only nodded softly. The next morning, Arielle and Lily sat wrapped in a blanket on their kitchen bench. Arielle showed her daughter a few kind messages from mothers around the world. "Are you okay?" she asked. Lily looked up, still puzzled. "Mom, why did they think you're not my mom?" Arielle pulled her close. "Because sometimes adults see through prejudice, not through their hearts." Lily nodded and said quietly, "But I know you're my mom. Always." Arielle said nothing more, because that answer, small but unwavering, was all the reason she needed to keep going. 3 days after the incident, Arielle Monroe sat in the recording studio of a national television program, lights illuminating her face, calm yet resolute. Zach waited in the green room while Lily slept peacefully at home, unaware that her mother was about to speak words that would touch the hearts of millions. The host leaned forward, softening their voice. "Dr. Monroe, what really happened in that ice cream shop?" Arielle looked directly into the camera. "What happened," she said, "was someone looked at my family and couldn't accept it. Because I'm a woman of color, because my daughter has lighter skin, and because of that alone, they jumped to the worst conclusion that I couldn't be her mother." She paused. Her voice grew low, heartbreakingly honest. "I'm tired. Tired of carrying documents to prove I'm a parent. Tired of the suspicious looks when I drop her off at school. Tired of being asked at clinics if I'm the nanny instead of the one who gave birth to her." The host nodded gently. "If Mrs. Melissa Cartwright, the woman who called the police, is watching this broadcast, what would you say to her?" Arielle paused for a moment. Then she spoke, not with anger or fury, but with clarity. "I would say her call frightened a child and humiliated a family simply because she wasn't used to seeing love that comes in different colors. But I'd also say she still has a chance to learn how to truly see people, to understand that families don't always look the same, but love never changes." 6 months after that fateful day at the ice cream parlor, Arielle Monroe stood in a brightly lit auditorium, every seat filled with teachers, social workers, parents, and children from across the region. Behind her, a large sign read, "Clearly Family Resource Center," a multiracial family support hub. The center had been founded through a combination of funding from Zach Monroe and thousands of donations from strangers moved by their story. But more importantly, it was a dream that had been growing inside Arielle with every time she was asked, "Are you really her mother?" She brought no prepared speech to the grand opening. Instead, she held Lily's hand, now 7, and looked straight at the audience. "Family," Arielle said, "is not about looking alike. It's about loving, protecting, and growing together, no matter the skin color, background, or how we came to be connected." The center would train educators in racial awareness in school settings, provide legal support to families facing discrimination for not fitting the traditional mold, and most importantly, offer children like Lily a place where they could learn. You are not strange. You are not different. You belong. When Lily used giant scissors to cut the red ribbon in front of a sea of cameras, her radiant smile was the loudest declaration of all, "I know I'm loved, and that's enough." 3 years after the ice cream shop incident, Arielle Monroe stood on the stage of the National Civil Rights Conference receiving an award for her outstanding advocacy for multiracial families. In the hall, hundreds of attendees, from activists and educators to parents who had been questioned for not matching their children, rose in a standing ovation. Arielle stepped to the podium. No notes. No script. That day in the ice cream shop, someone tried to separate me from my daughter because they couldn't imagine a family with different skin tones, she said, voice strong. They didn't understand that love has no color chart. That family doesn't need to match on the outside, only connect from the heart. And the right to be together anywhere in public is not up for debate. She paused, looking down at the front row where Zach and Lily sat, her daughter waving softly, smiling brightly. To every parent who's ever been doubted, to every child who's ever felt they don't look like they belong, you don't have to look like anyone else. You already are a family, and no one has the right to define that for you. That night, when she turned off Lily's bedroom light, now 10 years old, the girl whispered, "Mom, do you still think about that day at the ice cream shop?" Arielle smiled, sitting beside her. "Sometimes, yes." Lily thought for a moment, then said quietly, "I'm kind of glad it happened." Arielle blinked. "Why?" "Because now kids like me know we're not alone, and moms like you aren't alone either." Arielle held her daughter close, tears falling silently, not from pain, but because she knew everything she had fought for mattered.